Hello there and welcome. I am Napoleon Hill, and I'm interviewing the devil.
You can address me as your majesty.
All right, your majesty, who are you?
I am everywhere and I am nowhere. I live in every atom, every particle, and in every mind. I am the negative to the positive, the down to the up, the dark to the light. I am gossip. I am greed. I am vanity. I prey on drifters, those with no direction, no purpose. I sow the seeds of doubt and weave the threads of worry. I am the one holding you back. I am the one that comforts you and numbs you. Who am I, you ask? Look in the mirror.
Now, your majesty, there may be drifters, but they have the opportunity to become free thinkers. I believe in each one of us there is a guiding light, a beacon of hope. It is a flame burning in each soul, ready to ignite if given the chance. It resides in the hearts and minds of all individuals awaiting realization. There is potential in all of us.
Outwitting your inner devil.
From drifter to leader.
Well, welcome back, everyone. I am so honored and so grateful that I get to introduce my good friend, Don Green, who is the Executive Director and CEO of the Napoleon Hill Foundation. Welcome, Don. I'm so happy you're here with us today.
Yeah, well, you've been around me enough. No, I absolutely love what I did. And I wish everyone worldwide, 6-8 billion in America, could see that film clip. That was absolutely wonderful. I don't know if you can share it with Lana, who all can see it. I would just love for everyone to see that. I don't know how long it was, but it was such a great message. And the artwork, I guess Scott, or who takes credit for it, was just absolutely outstanding. And I got to share that with the publishers and people that we in contact with. I mean, everyone should see that. The message is just overwhelming.
Yeah.
I guess we can talk about some of them things in the devil or what have you. But the theme I would stress is the whole thing of the book was that we control our mind, and no one drifts to success. Drifting can only has one ending, that's failure. But what he says in the book, that we are in control of our mind. And when we realize that, a mindset we have, then we can attain those things, happiness, wealth, peace of mind, and all the other good qualities that everyone would like to have. But you're not going to get them by drifting.
That's right. That's right. Don, can you... And we'll get you that video. And it was actually created by our amazing team, the Cameron brothers. And we'll get you the video so you can share it far and wide. And everybody we'll put it in the Facebook to share. I would love for you to talk a little bit about the history. Most people don't know the history of what you did to get the book published. This is the book. Can you tell everybody a little bit about what happened?
I think I'm about the only one that read it, Joe, up to the time. And I'll get a little bit of the story. While he wrote it in 1938, it was not the 38 occurrences that triggered the story. In 1926, he was working with a publisher in Ohio, Don Mellett. Don was putting articles about the bootleggers in the industry, prohibition days and so forth. And Hill was his friends, and they planned things together. And the gangsters murdered a publisher, and Napoleon got a phone call to get out of town. He was scared of his life, and he left town. That was in 1926. So he recalled that occurrence. So that was a little bit of the background. But I had the manuscript, and gosh, I just thought it was something, and I discussed it a few times, and the women didn't want that published, and I don't think none of them ever read it. And so one day I told our chairman, now you got to understand, our chairman was Charlie Johnson. he was Napoleon's nephew by marriage, and
Right.
knew him since he was 6 years old. It was Napoleon that sent Charlie to school to become a doctor. He was a cardiologist. And Charlie laughed and said, never did pay him back. But anyway, Charlie's wife and Napoleon's wife thought the book shouldn't be published, religious grounds, or even our own trustees said, well, you don't need to be using the devil in the title of a book that would be Napoleon Hill Foundation. And I kept bringing it up. And so one day, Charlie called about something or other. And I told him about the book. I said, Charlie, you're always saying you're so proud of these kids we help. I can help a lot of kids with the money that we can make off this books. And then he called me Donald. Donald, you know them women didn't want that book published. And of course, I didn't even think, it's just spontaneous. And I used a couple of words. I said, Charlie, both them women are dead. One of them was Napoleon's wife, and the other was Charlie's wife, who was a doctor also. He said, well, you're going to publish it. Anyway, go ahead. No, Charlie, I won't publish it. You're the boss. And he said, okay, go ahead. And then one of the other trustees said, well, if you're going to publish it, change the title. But it wouldn't have been the same thing to change the title.
I agree.
So I did an interview with a guy by the name of Alan Mark. And it was an interesting story. He called me one day and told me he was with the Industry Visions in Detroit. He ran a business site. And he said he wanted to do an interview with me. And I said, okay. And I talked about a wetting the devil and what have you. And he said, now, I'm going to send this out on all the wire services. It will appear all over. And it did. Over 200 newspapers we got a list of. Atlantic Constitutions, LA Times, Anchorage, Alaska, and something or other. On and on and on. And so at the end of it, he said, Don, when we're through, don't hang up. I need to sign off and then I'll talk to you. And he said, this interview is costing me money. He said, you may be wondering why I'm doing it for. And I said, well, no, but I appreciate what you're doing, giving us all this attention, because it was a bestseller initiative, meaning Barnes & Nobles was to pack it up in the front of the store. It was done with Sterling, which is Barnes & Nobles. And he said, you've been sending my son books. And I said, who is your son? He said, his name is John Smith. And I said, well, your name's Alan Mark. No, my name's not Alan Mark. He told me the story. His son was on Jenny Jones reality show. God, 40 years ago or whatever, many years ago. And so they arranged a date with him. The story was, my wife saw the program on TV. He's on the daytime soap or whatever. Anyway, he went to the restaurant, made the date. It was a man. And so when he went back to work, I think he was 19 or 20, the other guys made fun of him. He couldn't handle it. So he goes home, gets his dad's shotgun, goes to the guy's residence. The guy come to the door, he blew him to bits, he killed him. He got a life sentence. And so Johnnie got in touch with me, and I didn't know this. I didn't know all the story, but I sent him books, books and books, and he said, "You've been sending my son books." And I said, "When I told him your name, Alan Mark, no, I'm in business. I had it." He said it was so bad, the publicity and so forth. They brought the gay into it, whatever into it, and he said I had my name changed for self-protection. And he served 20 some odd years. And just a few years ago, he was up for parole. And I actually wrote a letter to the parole board and told them that the boy had earned 2 degrees online while in prison. Mm-hmm. He had talked to the other people, taught the material, and said he was on schedule to read 500 books while he was in prison. And they gave him a parole.
Wow.
He got out, and his dad said the last thing he wanted to do, he wanted to come and visit me. But then I don't know what the time was, Alan's wife called me one day and said, Don, you probably not heard it, but I know you want to know. Alan had a heart attack and died. And so I never, but he did send me a picture of him together. But that was the story behind it. But even on and on, Charlie calls one day, and the assistant comes back. Don, Charlie's on the phone. I said, okay. He said, Donald, what are you doing? I said, I'm busy. He said, can you do me a favor? I said, sure, Charlie. I said, you're the boss. He said, I'm going to speak to some cardiologists. And could you send me about 50 of that devil book? I'd like to give all of them one. I had the same ship to him, and I said, that's a long way from yours before I could ever publish it, to all of a sudden I'm just sending 50 copies to give away.
Wow.
But if people could understand it, we're our own man-made devil. That's a quote from him from somewhere else. And the whole thing is mindset. It's mindset. And if you read Hill's book, he said if there's one thing you can take from it is our mindset. You know, we can have a mindset of drifting, of doing nothing, or we can put positive words into our mind and concentrate on them and follow them and not become a drifter.
Yeah.
So in the book, I just looked because I had an inquiry a while ago. I just had an inquiry from a renewal in, I think it's Sweden, but it's in 62 different languages.
Wow,
And,
62 languages.
62 different languages. Yeah, it's brought in a lot. It's brought in a lot of money, and well, in little countries and big countries, and I mean, not the last one. The last one was Turkey, but before that, I lasted in Ukraine. I'm thinking, with all the trouble they got over there, I guess they think of the devil, you know.
Yeah.
But it's hard to keep your concentration on the reading. I guess reading a book when they're bombing you and shooting all around you. But we lasted in Ukraine, so it's been received. It's been received awful well. It's been great. And when people discuss it, I told them he's trying to teach us to get hold of our mind. Don't let the thing drift. We use that word. Don't let our mind drift, because it can't lead but one place, and that's the road to failure.
Yeah, I'm just so grateful that you persisted in getting the book published, because honestly, Think and Grow Rich and Outwitting the Devil are the two books that completely woke me up, Don, and yeah, it scared me. I was laughing the other day because I even crossed out the word devil on my book because I was scared people would see me reading a book about the devil. I thought people are going to think, what's wrong with her? So I was afraid of the word devil too, because the way I grew up, right?
I did use a little persistence. Zane's grandmother worked with me 17 years. You notice I said with me. Nobody's ever worked for me. We worked together. And she banked 17 years with me. And she said, when they talk about persistence, said Don says when he's in no hurry, that means he wants it today. Okay?
Yep, that's you. Don you've been running, managing, and leading the foundation for over 20 years now, right? And
23. Yeah, it's 23rd year.
Wow, 23 years preserving. And what do you say? There's people out there, there's skeptics, and there's all these people just trying to tarnish the good work of Napoleon. I'm on a mission that we're going to outweigh all of those negative people and comments. Actually, one of the things I'd like to do right now, Scott, if you could bring up, people are saying he never met Andrew Carnegie, all this nonsense, right? This material changes lives. The principles work. We know that for a fact. Why would you, being a bank president, give it up to put 23 years into preserving the history?
Well, the next time you visit me, I've been going through the material, and yes.
So this picture, I got 3 pictures, Don, from Napoleon's grandson, J.B. Hill, Dr. Hill. And so this is one of Napoleon and Andrew Carnegie. And then
we need to put it all out. In practice, Brunson tells me he's got a picture of Napoleon and Carnegie in his collection. So maybe I'll get
We'll
change.
get one from him as well. I would love that.
And another thing I haven't mentioned to you, I don't think, is I've got a whole stack of letters from Edwin Barnes. Now you know Edwin Barnes was his only partner, and except a couple of them are typed, but the rest of them are handwritten, and a lot of them he dressed Napoleon as Dear Sap, and or Nap the Sap, but they remained friends up to their death. Edwin Barnes retired to Florida, and the CEO before me, sometime in the before his death, he went to Florida and interviewed Edwin Barnes. And like I said, we got a whole stack of letters, and of course that was his connection. That was his connection to Andrew Carnegie. So yeah, you know, there's a.
And this
I hear
is
all
Thomas Edison too on the screen. I don't know if you can see that, Don, but this
yeah.
This
yeah,
is
we have a whole bunch of pictures of him. In fact, is in one place. He said Edison would walk around through his labs and whatever, and with somebody's holding some crackers or something, other food, and he's drinking, been working. In other words, he don't stop to eat. And one time he said he asked Edison, said, "What would you like to be doing now?" He said, "Working on some experiments instead of having to answer your questions." But well, I don't know. You know, I mean, I hear them things. Napoleon Hill died broke. Well, you know, I don't invite people in, but we got Annie Lou's will. He died in 70. She died in 84. He lived off the money for 14 years. She had much more than $1 million when she died. So you know, I've even heard him said he was living in a row house. And if you read John Steinbeck's Mice or Men, that's his little house the sharecroppers lived in. You know, it basically is just one room, and there'd be maybe 10 or 12 of them, and they basically had a place to sleep and a little stove to cook on, and they were referred to as row houses. Well, we have pictures of his house in Greensboro, in Greenville, South Carolina, before he died. He's sitting out in a yard, in the driveway. His new Cadillac's in the background, and he's sitting there in a lawn chair with a nice suit on with a little handkerchief in it, with his little dog Pee-Pee in his lap. And people says he died broke. Where do they get all that stuff from? I just think it's comical. You know, how people can. Some guy was advertised once the course. Napoleon Hill died broke. Buy my course for $195, and I can show you how you can avoid dying broke. I picked up the phone and called him. I said, I want a little donation. You make me a donation. I'll send you a certified copy of the will. I said, maybe you don't know that, but you're not telling the truth. And if that's where you got to make your money, I said, shame on you. The man didn't die broke. You can say all these things about it you want to. It's going to be negative. For example, you take someone who's been divorced. You're going to say it's a marriage is a failure? No, you talk to JB. He's married 35 years. His first wife, she had 3 sons. And you can't say the marriage was a failure. Yeah, they could no longer get along or whatever and live together, but don't say the marriage is a failure, because the chain of those 3 sons, JB's a grandson. And without that marriage, those guys, one of his sisters had 4 sons. I met him at the burial of David's father, or David, which was his father, JB's father. He was one of World War II's most decorated soldiers. He was in World War II in a Korean War. I believe he served 31 years. They invited me to Arlington. They gave him a full funeral. But how can you say the marriage was a failure? One of JB's sisters got 4 sons, no girl, 4 sons, and I met there. 3 of them were medical doctors, and one of them was an investment banker. And you're going to say the marriage was a failure? No, they decided no longer to live together after 35 years. But don't say it's a failure. You judge it you judge it. And when people said to me, as I said, well, there's 4 books out there that Walker Isaacson, I can't pronounce his last name. He wrote 4 books on what he considered the 4 geniuses of the world. And one of them was Ben Franklin, one was Albert Einstein, and one of them was Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo da Vinci had all kinds of problems. He's born illegitimate. He wore women's clothing and whatever. He also painted Last Supper, Madonna and Child, and the Mona Lisa, and famous for his sculptures. He was an engineer and genius. He drew plans for airplanes heavier than And this is in the 1490s. So are you going to talk about his things that make him a little different in society, or for what he accomplished? So, you can get hung up on, of course, his other book was Steve Jobs. And he said, Steve Jobs actually told him, said, you're writing these books on genius as a kid. And he said, don't you think I'm due a book too? And he said, well, maybe a little later. And said, wasn't long after that, he found out that Steve Jobs had, I believe it was pancreatic cancer, had 6 months to a year to live or something. He called him and said, Steve, I believe we need to do that job, do that books on you. And of course, we know he founded Apple and what have you. So that was a poor genius he wrote on. So you can, I've heard people say that was around him that Steve Jobs was real hard to work with or whatever. Or you can put all negatives on somebody you want to. I prefer to give people credit for what the good of the world they done.
Exactly, John. Yeah. This is why, what you've done, you've preserved this truth, you preserved everything for people like me to come along, and it's just a blessing and it's an honor. Obviously when these things happen, I believe they really haven't read the books, because if you read the books and you understand how the mind really works, you're going to attract what you put out. You're breaking the golden rule. You're breaking God's laws. So these people really they're not studying it. That's for sure. Right. So.
No, evidently they don't. I don't know how they make up their minds and all. I remember having an incident. I don't mean to say one thing, say I'm boasting, but I was banking 18 years. I never foreclosed on a single house loan I made. Okay, that's all we did, house loan.
Wow.
But I had a couple, and I agreed to come in on Saturday, try to give them financial counseling, save their house because they're about to lose it. And this man, he sits down and he had a little bit of attitude problem. He said, I bet I'm not the only one behind. I said, you're the only one I can think of. It's about getting ready to sit out in the street. Now you've got some alternatives here, and I'll work with you. I said, you can do nothing. We're going to sell your property. I said, you can get a realtor listed. You might have a little bit of equity in it. And I said, the third alternative is you go over your debts and all, and I can show you where you can pick up a little bit of money, and you can eventually catch it up, and I'll go with you over a period of time. But see, wow. I guess it's misery loves company. Yeah. That they can, he tells himself, well, I bet I'm not the only ones behind. I said, it's that little girl talking about her dad telling her to be careful or something. He said, you take care of yourself. And so that's the way I feel about it. If you're behind your rent, you concentrate on straightening yourself out. I said, yeah. There's an old bumper sticker on an old pickup here in town I've seen a few times. The post office, it said, if you want to help poor people, just don't be one of them.
Oh, wow. Listen to that. I want to repeat that. That's so important. So important. If you want to help poor people, don't be one of them. Thank you for sharing that. It's so important.
It's like, if you want to love other people, you must first love yourself.
Yes.
That's where it starts. If you don't think well of yourself when you get up, I guess that's the reason some of us spend time in a clothing store and so forth. In the class, I had a cute little blonde sitting on the front row, and we was covering personality dress. So, well, Professor Green, if you know what you're talking about, it shouldn't be matter how you dress. I said, okay, let's just give you a question. Say you've been watching the quarterback here on the football team for 6 weeks. You would give anything if he'd call you for a date. Would you dress up? Well, of course I would. I'm going to make him look. I want to look good. Why would you not want to look good to an employer and your friends you want to be around? She said, I got it. But she said, it don't seem fair. I said, that's another lesson. We don't deal with what we think is fair. We deal with what's reality. People treat people better in restaurants because they say, hey, Cleona's, that lady's dressed now. I bet that's a pretty good tip right there. It's human nature for us to do that. And I read a study once in California. I don't remember where it was, USC or UCLA. They filmed this lady with a little bitty kids, unbeknownst to her. I know it's not fair, but it showed that she gave better attention to the kids that were dressed better. Yeah, little kids can't help it. But again, that's reality. If you go into a restaurant, you're much likely to get treated better if you simply. I mean, if I'm sitting there at the bank and a young lady or a boy comes in and they're applying for a position and they can't even take a shower and put on some decent clothes.
Yeah.
I'm assuming they're not wanting something other. They haven't prepared themselves for it. If they couldn't take a little time out to brush out their hair and put on some
Yeah.
clean clothes or whatever, come in with shorts on and flip flops and wanting to apply for an executive job or a
Yeah.
job in labor or so forth. It's just not very smart.
I'm glad you're bringing this up because this is perfectly in alignment with the topic drifters. Because if you look at like when Napoleon was around and some of the pictures, and Scott, I have a picture of him dressed so well. He's in his car. I think he's in New York. I'm guessing he's in New York. But the way society is today, Don, people just aren't making an effort. Like you said, I see people in their pajamas,
Oh
literally
yeah.
going into the store in their pajamas.
After
And
after we sold the bank, I went in one day and a guy, because we had money there. I mean, I'm talking about a lot of money, and one of the employees that worked there, in fact, is I hired him. He's had a heart attack and died, but I hired him and I said, James, what's with these clothes today? He said it's Casual Friday. I said, James, you know better. It's not Casual Friday. It's Casualty Friday. The little lady comes in here with money and she's 75, 80 years old or older. She expects the employees that waited on to be dressed like bankers. And he
yeah,
said, well, yeah, I guess so. I said, did you ever come in a bank and I didn't have a suit on and left my coat on through the day? Because I don't care who it is, where they knew who I was or not. They could walk into the lobby and see me standing there. They would know who was in charge. And it sent
yeah,
a message about it. And I don't mean all puffed up or anything, but that's the reason I did a dry cleaning business. I got kind of out and out. We didn't have good dry cleaners. Clothes smelled. They didn't give good service and what have you. And I ordered a $39.95 off Inc. magazine, how to run a successful dry cleaning operation. I can't drive a hammer. I can't drive a nail, but I knew what it took to do it and all. And it was unbelievably successful for 17 or 18 years. And if Walmart hadn't give us all that money, and I won't say how much, we would still been there. But then I had started working for the foundation. I had plenty to keep me busy.
yeah. So this is the picture of Napoleon. I believe it's in New York. And
He
look,
loved our movies.
yes.
He
What kind
loved,
of car was that, Don? Do you know?
Well, he had always had big cars. He had two Rolls Royces, and he died. He had a new Cadillac, uh, but in the two big brick homes when you come into Wise to the red light, you're looking at them.
Yeah.
They're 3 stories. Those were built in 1906. One of them was a law partner with Rufus Ayers that Napoleon went to work for, and the other was a judge, and they were brother-in-laws. And those two houses were built. They had them in 1906. I've got a picture of them. The people, probably 100 of them. I can show you it's in our files, standing in front of those buildings, and they are dressed. I've been talking about top coats and hats
I
and
love that.
dressed. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think I should have been born in those days because I just think people had more respect for themselves. And here,
we we have a local judge who's a good friend. She's kind of strict on that, and she's a judge. And a lady lawyer came into her court with what do you call them, culottes or something other, but I'm talking about paints.
yeah, the pen. Yeah.
And she told her, you can't appear in my court dressed like that. Go home. She sent her home to change clothes before she would learn practice for the bar.
Yeah. I believe, everybody wants, they have these goals, they want to have this and that in life, but if you can't even dress as the woman or the man you want to be, that's the basics. And some people have really good clothing in their closet, but they're not wearing them. What are you waiting for? Like, pull out your best, and you will feel so good about yourself. I know I do. When I dress up, I feel so much better about myself. Even during the pandemic, I was dressing up every day, even though no one saw me. But we need to bring this back. We need to bring this, your style, Napoleon style. Dawn has the best wardrobe that I've ever seen, that's for sure, and shoes. Yeah. So Dawn, what advice would you give to people? This week was all about drifter to leader. What advice would you give our
Well,
viewers?
read the book and hopefully understand that the one thing he wanted to accomplish, that we are in control of our mind if we want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, hey, drifter. In other words, what comes down the road, and then you become a drifter and a complainer, and nothing ever goes right. There ain't no opportunities. Nobody's hiring. They don't treat me right at work. On and on and on. Listen, you'll get about as much good out of doing that as you would sitting in a rocking chair. It don't take you nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
You can sit there all day you want, and it just reflects a whole lot on you of that type of person. You know, you've probably seen that quote from Mr. Stone. I published it's in somebody's book I read, and he said, "Be careful of the environment you're in, where it shapes us. Be careful of the people you associate with, because we'll become like them." And of course that's two things he wrote about in the book I did on the Golden Rules, which is in God knows how many languages. And he said we're a product of our social and our physical environment. Now the physical, we can't do an awful lot about it, our size and our color of our eyes and so forth. But we can change our environment by associating with different people, because Thomas Carlyle, his quote, the British writer, said was, "We are today due to the people that we've spent time with and the books we've read." And if you've not read no books, then you're probably running way behind. And if you've never been anything, Zig Ziglar, I did a fundraiser with him. I can remember a lot of his quotes. He said, "If you want to be a winner, hang around with winners." And he said, "If you want to be a loser, guess what? You know, it's not complicated. You know, you study young people and they're running around together, chances are every one of them smokes. They'll end up all of them smoking because they pick up the habits of those around them, in the same way with drugs is. It'd be hard to stay off drugs with you. Nobody who's ever around went on drugs too. And so that's a product of our environment. It's extremely important that we watch those things. Was it someone said, if you're the smartest one in the room, you need to get in a bigger room?
Yeah.
We got to learn from other people. And when we think we know it all, then we're in trouble. We're in bad trouble, because they something new every day out there that we can learn. See, I can learn from Scott on this. I can't get over that film clip and all. That was just absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, we'll send it out to you, Don, so we can share it far and wide. And we're just getting started, Don. You know, we just launched the Institute in January. We have an amazing group of people working with us. We're attracting coaches every day. We talked about it this week. And what advice would you give someone who's considering joining us and becoming a Napoleon Hill certified coach with us?
Well, I think it's an absolutely wonderful opportunity. And listen, you would say it and I would say it, not everyone was meant to be a coach.
Yeah.
The material is great. If you learn it only for your own self, it will help you lead a better life. But if you want to get to the point where you want to make a difference in other people's life, you learn to relate what you've learned to them, so they can in turn bring other people in. And it's an unending conclusion to it, because it goes from one to one to one to one. And hey, we got several billion people out there, and we won't be satisfied till they've got it all. But I tell people, I know what they want me to tell them. When they say, "Don, what should I invest in?" They're wanting me to tell them Microsoft or Apple or Walmart or Coca-Cola or God knows how many of them out there. But I don't, even if it was my family. The best investment you ever make is what you invest in yourself.
Yeah.
That's just plain and simple. The next best investment you ever make is what you invest in your families and your employees.
Yeah.
And that's just pretty simple. It should be simple to understand that the knowledge that you gain. And of course, a lot of people want to take shortcuts. I mean, I get questions on the self-confidence formula. Well, it's in the book, and it's about wanting something. I said second chapter on Think and Grow Rich on the left side of the page. It's got the what do you desire, and the first one is what do you want, and the second one is what do you intend to give for what you want.
What are you going to give in return? That's right.
That's your plans. They got to do. And as it was Thomas Jefferson said, the saddest day in your life is when you sit down and start figuring how you get something for nothing. There is no such thing. When somebody promises you something for nothing, you better dig into it a little bit deeper. But it's not that complicated. For some reason or another, it's like going out you living out in the country. You're going out in the garden. You're going to pick some corn. You're not going to pick no corn if you've not sowed no seeds. It's the planting before the reaping. It's not the other way around. So many people are sitting there with a hand out. They've not done anything. Zig explained it good. He said, "Did you get anything from the mail order house Sears today?" "No, I didn't get nothing." You must not have ordered nothing. That's what he's trying to tell you. If you want corn, you're going to be wanting corn. In the spring, sow some seeds and you'll reap a harvest. Napoleon, he gave an example about wheat, like a wheat seed for a few seasons planted and not planted back. And the first thing you know, you got 1,000 bushels of wheat because you kept reinvesting investing. You planted something or other, and your return should always be much more than what you've planted. But you got to do the sowing first. It's sow and reap. It's sow and reap. It's not reap and sow.
It's sow and reap, and it's by law. So people want to reap before they sow, and then they complain and blame the world, and that's the drifting qualities of a drifter. But yes, that message for me is the most important. Sow and reap. It's that simple. What have you sown? What service have you provided? Who have you helped? So on that note, Don, one of my favorite things that you say, and I always ask you to say this, but I just love it. It's your quote that you say every morning. You help so many children. Most people don't know Don. He's down in Wise, Virginia. He goes to the schools. He helps the children. The foundation is a non-for-profit. They take the money. They pay for scholarships, for education for children. And Don goes there and he talks to the kids in the school all the time. I mean, you're a perfect example of living this material. Can you tell everyone what you say in the morning when you wake up?
Oh, yes. God, show me someone I can help today. In Jesus' name, amen. And I ask myself before I leave the day, have I done anything? I'm going to send someone a book. It may be to you. I'm going to send someone a book. I'm going to send someone a note. I'm going to do something other before I leave the office. It says, yeah, I try to make a little bit of difference. And I'm not expecting nothing in return, okay? I'm not expecting. I got my reward when I did it because I know that I was making an effort. And of course, I'm all paid many times over just the feeling I get that I was able to help someone a little bit. But the rewards have been unbelievable. I mean, just as over and over and over that things has happened. My sister, I had lunch with my only sister, and she told me recently, she said, "Don, you can't believe the people that comes up to me and said, your brother," he said, he helped me. And she said, a lot of times I don't even know who they are. So they want to tell me about how you helped them or you financed their house or whatever. And I said, well, we can't do everything, but we can do something. And that's the reason I get up in the morning with a passion. I just know that these things that I'm going to get to be able to do for the days out. And I mean, of course you can tell by looking, I'm I passed 80 sometime back. So, but it's a blessing to be able to make a difference in some people's lives, wherever. I mean, again, please don't take it I'm boasting or anything,
No, you're the
because
most humble person. I will boast for you.
the other day I had a guy that I went to his college and spoke in North Carolina, in South Carolina. You're real close to where Napoleon's buried, outside of Asheville. And I went. He had been on to me to come speak at his marketing class. His mother was here. I know Don Didbro. His name was Don. And I went. And so the other day he called and said he's offered summer, and that he'd like to have lunch with me. And he always asked her. And he said, "I'd love to buy." I said, "You've always buy." And so he said, "What time?" I met at Monterey. And when I was going in, the little girl, they probably 10 years old, and they was going to take a trip for softball, and they had big signs up for money. So I got rich in the whole pocket, and don't get this, I'm boosted, but here I is. I rich in my billfold. The only thing I got is I got 4 $100 bills. Okay, 4 $100 bills. And I gave that little girl a $100 bill, and she said, she just screamed, "God bless you!" And she ran over to the other ones and was just screaming. But I got a lot more out of her than what she did. I mean,
Yes.
being honestly, if I had change, I'd go give her a 10 or a 20 or something or other. But I wasn't going to pull out and leave that little girl standing there and I hadn't give her some money.
That's
So
beautiful.
that was
It is.
what
We talked about that today too. It's the psychic income. I call it the psychic income, and it's the reward of giving. It's the feeling that you've contributed. There's no greater reward. The money that just comes anyways because you've been of service and you've sowed the right seed.
In one of Hill's writings, he told us that he said, if you're ever in a restaurant eating, and this is occurred to everybody, you're sitting there thinking, do I leave a 5 or do I leave a 10 or you question how much? He said, always leave the larger amount. You'll feel good after you leave.
There you go.
I've always remembered that.
It's true. Always leave the larger amount. I hope you guys got that message.
Yeah. Well, one of the restaurants I ate at a lot years ago, and mostly college kids working there, and they all knew it. There was a business lady in town, and she would leave 3/4. She would change. She'd be with people, whatever, which went to get to the table. So everyone knew it. And of course, everybody in town probably knew it, but then because they learn who gives them a decent tip and so forth. I mean, I always wonder if the kids are going to college or heck, I don't even care to ask them, if they're going to school or what have you. A lot of them working 2 jobs to get through. And when you be a little kind to them, I think that's what we're supposed to do.
That's right. That is what we're supposed to do. Well, Don, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. You've changed my life, and therefore you've changed everybody else's life that's involved in the Napoleon Hill Institute. I just want to thank you. I don't even have words to describe how grateful I am. So thank you so much for everything. Thank you for your continued service, for preserving Napoleon's work and allowing us to be part of it. So thank you.
Well, my reward is all those people that you're helping. I've not had complaints. I've just had people over and over, and I try to tell them that if they need something, I can put them in touch with the proper people, because I'm not going to be making decisions that somebody else is making and send confused signals out there. So, but the receptions has been great, and I don't believe there's any group of doing what you guys is doing is growing any faster. If they are, I don't know who it is.
We're the fastest growing company now in this space. Yeah, for coaching.
And as I told Chris and Mario and that wonderful Scott, the wonderful group that you've assembled together, that yes, you have the books, but you have access to so much more material. Those other people out there are doing it, and none of us are trying to get filthy rich. We're trying to provide a service And of course, it takes money. It takes money to do that, and that's what we'll keep on is keep on doing. I did an interview the other night at 8 o'clock. I thought it was for 30 minutes. It went till 10. It was with Eric Swanson. They were people I were calling in from everywhere. But I'm thankful. I drove around behind the office because at 10 o'clock, I'm telling you, it was dark, dark, and so I didn't have to. I didn't have to go down. I didn't have to go down the steps or anything.
Wow. Wow. Amazing. You are the legend, Don. We're so, so grateful for everything you've done. I'm looking at some of the comments here. You can't see them probably, Don, but people are saying that they're comparing you to Jesus. They're comparing you.
Oh,
They're,
oh, oh no!
and they're
But
thanking you. Yes.
but gosh, we can help so many people. And I said I'm reluctant to say anything about it. I'm only giving you a sample of what I've been blessed to do. But to be around you, Scott, Johnny, Lefford, and all these other people, it warms my heart because I know you've got got good intentions, and I think I'm a pretty good judge of character. I've sat down across the desk from enough people after a while, and in the banking business, uh, I never let a single employee go, and I never fired anyone. I had one young lady who came to me, and I was having complaints on her, and I tried to help her, and she had problems, and told me she just couldn't do her work, and and so later on, she had a son killed in an accident. Her husband committed suicide. She had her daughter's a beauty clinic, but overdosed. She didn't. She did survive. And so one of the girls said, "I bet you really despise so and so." I said, "Oh no." I said, I feel for her. I feel so bad for her. I don't know whose fault it is that she's went through all this, and but I never had to let people go because they didn't work for me. They worked with me, and I
Yeah.
took care of them. I
Yeah.
took care of them. Just like Zane's been here since the eighth grade, 12 years. His grandmother worked with me. She was with me for 17 years, and then her granddaughter, Zane's sister, she worked with us for 6 years. She's a pharmacist. Brooke worked with us 6 years. She's a medical doctor. So I don't know where I've been in some good company. I've been in some good company, and I'm proud of the way they turned. I'm proud of the way they turned out.
You're amazing. You're an amazing example of a leader and how to treat others. So when we talk about the golden rule, you just live and you are the leader in that rule for sure, Don. So I want to thank you so much. We're going to bring Johnny up and Scott and Johnny, if you want to take it away. And Don, is there anything else you want to say before we go?
No, I enjoy it very much. I mean, I appreciate you. Yeah, I appreciate you listening to me. Um, and my daughter would say, "Daddy, tell me another story."
I love that. Don, thank you. I will see you later. And
Thank you.
if we have any questions from the chat, I'm going to collect them and we'll send them over to you because there's some.
Yeah, I'll talk to you sometime. I did get an inquiry this afternoon, and I didn't try to answer the lady. I just told her somebody would call her.
Okay, beautiful. Okay, thank you, Don. Thank you so much, Scott and Johnny. I'm going to let you take it away.
Brilliant, thanks so much. And I want to tell you a little story about Don. We when we went to Wise, Virginia, we were in this supermarket which was quite far away from Wise, Virginia. These guys came over who worked at the supermarket and started talking to us. And we mentioned we were going to go and see Don Green, and everyone knew Don Green. Everyone. We went to a restaurant miles away, and one of Don's students came up to him and started thanking him for the scholarship, how much he helped him, and all this type of stuff. This is the type of guy that Don Green is. It was so good getting to go down to Virginia to spend some time with him. Anyway, Johnny, it's so good to have you here. Thanks so much for being on the call. I wanted to ask you today, Johnny, what's your journey been like since you came on with NHI? What were you going through? And what was it that attracted you here to the Napoleon Hill Institute?
Wow, Scott, that's an excellent question. I love the questions you asked, by the way. One of the things that I would say is my journey started actually with the Napoleon Hill Foundation because I was certified. I am certified through the foundation, right? So going through that whole process, and it's multi-layered, and on doing the capstone project is what I'm going to call it. We had to do something amazing in the community. So what part of what happened is my life was being transformed. At that time, leading into what we're really talking about is I was drifting. I was a senior level executive and had been in 3 companies before, but I was drifting. You can be successful and be drifting. You can be intellectual and be drifting. You can be saved, sanctified, talking in tongues and be drifting. It's not about what you are in the moment. It's about what you were called and created to be. When there's a gap between that, there's something that you're searching for. So coming to the Napoleon Hill Institute was something I was searching for. And I'm going to go back to the foundation. I remember 4 of us was sitting at a table, and I think we mentioned it at the event. 4 of us was sitting around the table, and we said, there's got to be more. Man, there's got to be more. We want more because we were hungry. Not hungry to starving, hungry because we had eaten at this higher level, and we needed to eat at that level a lot more. We wanted to continue that. So we built a global team, and we started traveling together. Some of us, you know, life happened, right? We're still connected. And a group of us ended up going over and we went to Mexico and all that. However, there was still something missing. The thing that was missing for me was the huge community and a place that I can be intuitive. See, my job, I got in trouble for being intuitive. A lot of places we get in trouble about being intuitive. However, this right here has risen my level of being intuitive. I am more in tune with who I am and who I was created to be than ever before. Now I'm gonna give Fatima, okay, I'm gonna say this. She when I first started the boot camp, Scott, I was telling people, I said, I'm in a boot camp and this lady is kicking my behind. she's being right.
That's what she does. Yeah.
She's bringing out what she sees in us. She was showing us ourselves. She was raising a mirror before us and still is, okay? And that is the thing that I love about the Institute. One of the major things I love about the Institute is the things that Don was talking about, is that we're heart, we're head, and we're hands. We're lions, however, we're heart, we're head, our mindset, right? And we are hands. So that's what drove me to the Institute. And for the first 12 weeks, because I work on a 12-week strategy, I couldn't really dive in like I wanted to. And then for the next 12 weeks, which is where I'm at now, I'm all in. I have, dropped some things to be intentionally focused, and I'm seeing the results. And I'm seeing the impact even at a greater level for my life. I hope that answers.
100%, Johnny, and what you're talking about, what the common theme of this is called the comfort zone. Have you heard about the comfort zone? Now, what's really interesting, my mentor said it's a sad place to be. It's a dangerous place to be. A comfort zone, it might even feel good. That's the thing about comfort zone. It might even feel good. So going back into understanding, like outwitting the devil and everything else, how have you felt that tug, like through your journey? Have you felt that tug of the comfort zone, and how did you overcome it to kind of step out there and to do this?
That's a great. Okay, so I'm gonna be totally clear. When I first got the book Outwitting the Devil, Don sent it to me, and I think he sent it to me, or someone mentioned it to me, and I had it, and I said, I'm not reading a book about the devil. I'm just not doing that. because my my social, emotional, all of that, my faith, everything kind of rose up of the way I was trained. And then I thought, I said, I'm gonna start looking at it. And when I opened it and started reading it and started seeing the conversation and saying that this is real, this is happening every single day. People are walking around and drifting. And so what I said this morning when I was doing a live, I asked people, are you asleep? Are you asleep and walking around? That's how it impacted me. I was walking around. I have vision. And so through the foundation and now through NHI, and now I see even more through the study on a daily basis how I am awakened at a different level. It wasn't that I was asleep. I wasn't always drifting, right? However, to be awake at a different level is where we are now. And we have to understand, I think I need to understand. Let me talk about me. Because nobody get upset, Scott, if I talk about me, right? I need to understand and share that with as many people as possible. The fact that you don't have to be where you are now. Even if where you are is good, you have great. See, good is the enemy of great. It is, and so that's where I move forward, and then looking at how I can impact people's lives. And so when we put the first talked about having the event, I said, okay, how am I gonna do this? And I looked and I said, all in. So I started making a strategy to share it. And through the simulation that we're doing, thanks Mario and all of y'all, through the sales simulation, right? I realized selling is serving. So I said, how many people can I serve? How many people can I serve by showing them this opportunity, by giving them this information? And even today, because the reason, and I missed, and I'm gonna go back into the replay. I was at a event that they were honoring me for some stuff, right? And I'm sitting there, and they said, "There's something different about you. What is going on?" We don't have to scream and holler about what we got. People will notice it because we're shifting on the inside. And when you shift on the inside, everything about our lives will change. So they asked me what it was. And so I ended up sending 3 people in the moment. They said, no, text me now. I said, well, I think you can still see the replays and text me now. So that's what I would say. Don't give up even today. There are people that are still looking for an opportunity to move, to grow, to be better. They need this. They need to know the tricks and the tools that are around them that they may be asleep from so that they can wake up. As we wake up ourselves to be control, to self-control, right? Self-discipline, all of those things, we see how other people are. And this is what I'll say, Cleona said it the other day, and many others. Don't judge them. Don't judge people. Yeah. Don't judge them. Give them grace and mercy and send them the text. Don't stop moving forward because of what you're doing and what you were called to do. Just keep on moving forward by putting your oxygen mask on first. And that's what this book and this everything that I'm touching right now as we move forward, that's how it's moving me.
What do you think the biggest obstacle is, Johnnie, to doing it?
To doing it? Self. Don't you think so? Don't you think our biggest obstacle is us?
Yeah.
It's because we don't get a chance to get away.
Yeah. We had Dan Matthews on, Johnnie, and he was talking about the heart being open. When someone's heart is open, that's the time that we change, because the heart is actually the subconscious mind. Actually, Napoleon Hill talks about subconscious mind so much as being the feeling center. Remember, you said that people felt that you changed. It's the sense that your feelings have changed. This is like where the heart comes in. So it's being open-hearted, being open-minded. I think is one of the first steps. What was the point, John, in your life? Like we all get introduced to this information. Everyone's here. What was the point when you knew that this information really worked?
Well, I actually saw this information work with my parents. When I was raised, my parents ended up in the multi-level marketing projects. It was Amway, and they became directs, diamonds, all that. They worked through it, but they were feeding their mind. They were giving them books so that they can transform their mind as they continue to grow, build, and help other people build. Right. So they were having meetings and they were giving people books, and that's where I got these books from, the Little Red Book and this book, and all of these known authors like Earl Nightingale. That's how I was introduced to all of that. And then I got married and I moved away, or went to school and became a little bit more educated. And then I was educated, had a good job, and I found myself homeless on sleeping on somebody else's orange shag carpet. When that happened, I remember the morning as if it was today, that I was laying with my daughter, my miracle baby, on my chest, and I was crying. And I said, this is where I am, but this is not who I am. Because all of that information, all of that stuff started coming back to me. I said, I was created for greater than this. And so what did I do? I started going back and reading. I started delving back into the information. I started looking at books. Matter of fact, some of the books I have, my mother's, my father's handwriting was in it, or was given to them. Both of them are deceased now. So that was the foundation. So whether it be wherever a person is, it matters where you start from. And since then, I've watched it in my life. The sowing and the reaping. I've watched myself grow. I've watched myself help other people grow. And that has always been my passion, Scott, to help others. And it's gotten me in a lot of trouble, by the way. In certain fields and stuff, is like, why are you trying to help me? Why are you, there's greater in you. I used to have people work for me. When I had 52 people working for me, they said, oh, if you work for her, you're going to be better when you come out. She ain't playing. And so that has traveled with me because I'm looking for greater. I'm not judging a person, because we get free will. We get a chance to say no. I just said yes.
That's really interesting. I just said yes. That's really deep. I just said yes. So with look, my favorite thing about Napoleon Hill, Johnny, is that he just puts everything so simplistic. He takes the most, like, these are actually really complicated concepts that he talks about in Think and Grow Rich, but he's made it so simplistic by the way he communicates it. Remember, it took him so many years to put this together. That's what I love about it. It's so simple. He makes it seem so simple. What is it about Napoleon Hill that you were drawn to him? And there's so many people out there that's teaching it way after he published this almost 100 years ago. But what was it about Napoleon Hill that you were attracted to?
Okay, so I'm a right brain, left brain person. I'm a right brain and left brain person. So the thing that attracted me to it is that I knew it was principle based. And because of my faith, I needed it to be supported by my faith. And it is. When I go through the book, I can see the growth. I can see how all of that makes, because he did make it simple. So the word talks about, it takes the simple to confound the wise. Simple things confound the wise. So sometimes people are so wise that they look at it and they say, it's got to be harder than that. There's got to be more to it than that. And it's not, because principles are like gravity. This is what attracted me to it. Principles are like gravity. And I'm one of those people that I look at, and even God, my relationship with God. I said, sowing and reaping works, no problem. I'm going to test you. I'm going to start sowing and see what happens. Right? Same thing with that's the way that's who I am, right? I take a principle. If it's a principle, I want to test it. Now, a couple principles I don't play with. I'm not going on a building and jumping off. That's gravity. No, we're not doing that. So, and I don't say that anybody else should either. But gravity is a principle that works. Napoleon Hill principles are principles that work. It's not about us believing them. It's about them being true, and we just need to create it to be our truth. Because it's an act of our will. It has to become our truth. In spite of what we were told we were not. In spite of whatever happened before. In spite of all of that, it has to become our truth, and we have to be it. Be a product of the product. We have to be it. And that's the thing I like about Napoleon Hill. Even Outwitting the Devil. Look how simple it's written. I mean, the questions are not all prolific, and he's not using 15-letter words and all that stuff. Even though a lot of us may understand that, that's not where it's at. He asks simple questions. And then the answer you can see everywhere. When a person releases their mind, they drift. If you're releasing your mind and all you're watching is TV, or you're in front of the phone all the time, you're drifting. And they have created those things to bring us in. So use the things for our good. Look at what we did this week. I mean, I'm going to talk about me. I started doing lives again. All of them were not perfect, by the way. And that's my other thing, Scott. Stop the perfection. Perfect is not what's required. Required is to do my best at this moment to move forward, to have an impact to the people that I desire to serve. So those are the things that I love about Napoleon Hill. I can relate to it.
And so you're talking about principles and how they're different from beliefs. I always say to people, my main word I always say to people, Johnny, is just try it. Just try it out. Because you won't know if it's going to work unless you try it. I watched The Secret when I was 13. And they said, if you visualize something and you visualize it every single day and emotionalize it, that will be attracted into your life. Instead of saying this doesn't work, I went and tried it out and then found out that it did work. I was 13, you see. But some people still won't try this stuff out. He's telling you the 6 steps in the book, Go and try them out. Go and see if this stuff works. I want to invite John's still here and Cleona's still here. I want to see if we can all jump in. Let's see all 4 of us.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. And I have Mario calling me as well at the same time. So
I thought that was me. I said, "Oh my God, I'm in trouble." I just said that.
It might be. There we go. So yeah. So I thought you two needed to go. I'm sorry about that.
No. I think, well, I can speak for me. I was just really enjoying listening to you, Johnny, and I'm sure Dawn feels the same way. Like, if there's ever a woman that speaks from her heart, it's you. And I could just listen to you all day because you're just pure. You're pure love. I can feel your faith. And I get a little emotional because I
am too. Don't do me.
We're the criers. But we love this. We care. We really care. And that's what I love about you, Johnny, is because you truly care and you do everything from your heart. I've never met someone, apart from Dawn, actually, that goes the extra mile like you do. And I'm just so grateful that you're with us on this journey. You're a master coach, and I'm sure you're going to keep climbing to where you belong. And I'll do whatever it takes to help you as well.
Thank you. Okay, so I need tissue now. No, but thank you, thank you. It's easy. Can I say that for me, I remember having a conversation with someone who did not believe in God, and so I was in a room, and they said, Johnnie, why don't you're a minister, why don't you go over there and fight? I said, some things don't need to be fought. I said, some things are so big that the reality of them outweighs anybody's conversation about them, because the truth always wins. And that's how I feel about the organization. That's how I feel about you, Cleona. And that's absolutely how I feel about God. Because when your life, and Scott is amazing, I'm always following Scott, he don't know it. So anyway, so when your life speaks, people listen. They may not like what they hear, they may not like what you say, but they have no choice but to listen, because it's the truth. So thank you. And thank you, Don. I love you. Thank you both.
Thank you. Thank you for your truth. This is a beautiful way to bring it in, Scott. And we always say the truth resonates with your soul. The truth will always resonate. And I'm just so grateful. We're just getting started. That's what I keep saying. Imagine like we're only a few months into launching the Institute, and we're just getting started. So I'm so humbly grateful and honored to work with all of you. And Scott, I'll pass it to you to bring it in for a landing. Thank you.
Well, I just want to thank everyone here and thank everyone watching. And we've got more things to come as well. We've got more things to come. So stay in tune with the Facebook group, with the YouTube channel, with your email inbox, because we've got a lot more on the way. So yeah, I just want to thank you all again, and we'll see you next time.
Scott,
thanks, guys.
Can we put that video up before we go the from the event? I would love Don to see it too.
Oh yeah, the coaches video, of course. Yeah. Okay then. Here we go then, guys. Thanks again for everything. And
thank you, Johnnie. Thank you,
Don.
Don.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
I'll see you soon, Don.
I'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.
Do you feel it? In the air, the trees, the earth. There is an awakening, a calling, a movement. It is your time. Remember who you are. Join us back to the source.
I will give you the master key with which you may open the door to the attainment of your desires, whatever they may be.
So I came to find that family, that tribe, and I absolutely found it, and I'm just thrilled because it's just the start. The seed's kind of just been sown and it's just sprouted.
It's just a starting point, a spark of something great that's going to impact the world globally. And I'm so grateful to be a part of this event because it's historical. We've had many organizations and institutes before, but it's something different and special about this one.
Everybody was just greeted with such open arms and with such great heart. The event, the things that we did, the activities we did, the meditations, the self-improvement mantras were just fabulous. It's life-altering, truly is.
The energy was high. It was incredible to meet the people that I'd seen on Zoom. And so it's just lived beyond my expectations.
I am in NHI because I believe in serving people and changing millions and billions of lives.
It was more than I anticipated, but beyond what I expected.
I love this material, Think and Grow Rich. I love coaching, and I want to serve people with this information.
And I've been studying Napoleon Hill's Laws of Success. I've listened to the Think and Grow Rich original movie where he comes on and he's, how do you do? You know, I've watched it time and time again. And so to see all of this manifest into this moment, to where we are the first people in over 120 years to have access to Andrew Carnegie's library, in addition to the events and all the enrichment and the energy, the pure energy and the joy that you see of the people that are here is nothing short of a magnificent romantic fantasy.
If you are considering joining a program where you get to learn how to affect someone else's life, like if that's a calling that you have inside of you, like if you feel that and you want to go out into the world and you want to actually go, I can help you, right? I've been through the trials and tribulations of growing myself and becoming the best version of me, and I'm still working on it every day. If you want that, like if that's a calling that you feel deep inside of who you are, if that's a calling that you feel, there is absolutely no better institution than the Napoleon Hill Institute to help you get to that next level. They are holding the keys to the Pandora's box of possibility, and it is going to be a tremendous journey. And if that is your calling, like if that's what people are after, then this is the exact right place at the exact right time for them to take it to a whole new level.
We are on a mission to transform lives all over the world. We're operating from a heart of service. We're operating from a heart with integrity. And we know that Napoleon Hill's material works.